Welcome, everybody, to another edition of Home Solutions, brought to you by Pro 93 Home Solutions. Hey, hope everybody's having a good morning this cold Saturday morning. Hope you're doing well. Hope your family's safe. Everybody's doing okay in these crazy couple of weeks to start 2021. We thought 2020 was bad. 2021, apparently, a la Michael Jordan in The Last Dance, took that personally. Dennis Purvis here with you, and it's a fun day today because we kind of got the band back together for a day.
We do.
The old Sports Talk crew here with me today is my old buddy Bryan Burger from Cleveland Appraisals Services. Bryan, how you doing, brother?
I'm doing good, bud. How about yourself?
Yeah, this is a little different than the last studio we did a show in together. Hey?
It is. It's a little different. It's a little more spacey.
A little more light.
Definitely more light.
Definitely more light.
Do we need to cut the lights off to get this back to normal?
Like we're in our mom's basement. The beautiful new Mix 104 studios. Hope everyone is ready to go today. Today we're going to talk about, is the only local home and garden show. We're going to talk about something that a lot of folks don't think about until you buy or sell a home, or you absolutely have to have one for more of a personal reason, and that's appraisals. What is your home worth? You know, there's the old adage, well, things are worth whatever somebody's willing to pay. But when you're trying to get a loan or there's an estate planning situation, or maybe you're going through an unfortunate divorce, having a correct value is pretty important on your home. So we've got Bryan in here. Bryan has been doing, how long have you been doing appraisals now? Because
I started in 2007.
Yeah.
So do the math on that.
13 years, good Lord. And then Cleveland Appraisals Services been around,
I believe it's 2002.
2002, there you go. So 18 years, locally owned. You guys?
Yes, locally owned. William Thacker, goes by Billy.
Yes, a lot of you folks around.
Great boss.
Yeah, Billy he's a good man.
He is.
Billy's a good guy. I believe he's a local guy as well. And listen, as always, we want to give you guys some information for somebody local that can help you in times of need, when you don't know who to call and you're just going to go back to Google and look it up. You need to know what your value of your home is. You need to call Cleveland Appraisal. I can tell you personally, I worked in the mortgage industry for about a decade and used Cleveland Appraisal Services. Bryan and I used to use him. And Billy had done several for us, and just the turnaround, the professionalism of both those guys. And I know there's several more appraisers. You guys, I think, have 4 or 5 on staff?
We have, that's a good question, 6 or 7.
Oh, there you go. So, and in case you're wondering, folks, real estate's kind of hot right now. You guys are staying pretty busy, huh?
We're actually having to turn down some work at times.
Really?
We're that busy. Yeah.
That's crazy right now.
It is crazy.
You
in these times, you'd think it would have died down, but it's just gotten busier.
Listen, last year when COVID hit, we were scared to death. I'm like, what's this going to, because there's no handbook for this thing. What's it going to mean for business? And we have not missed a beat.
But when your rates are just over 2%.
Yeah. Yes. We probably need to get another mortgage person in here soon. Maybe get Rita from Southern Heritage in here, because let me tell you, if you haven't refinanced, if you were thinking about buying and you wanted to buy more house than you probably could just a couple years ago, now's the time. It is nuts. So let's talk a little bit, Bryan. Talk a little bit about yourself. Talk about you. How'd you get into appraisals? Where you're from, your story.
Well, I was born here way back in 78.
Attaboy.
Went to Lee. Like you, I'm a Lee guy. I went to Bradley Central. I went to Charleston for a few years. Graduated from Bradley, though. Then, obviously, I went to Lee. I was on the doctor program for a 4-year degree, but I did finally finish. And then I met Michael Williamson, who was doing appraisal. I thought, that sounds cool. I get to drive around and see houses and not sit in an office all day.
Yeah.
And he put me in touch with somebody I worked for before, Billy Thacker and Cleveland Appraisal Services, and I've just been doing it ever since.
Yeah, and it's definitely there's a science and an art to appraisals.
There is. It's not the way it used to be.
Yeah, and it's and one of the things let's explain to folks. If you remember 10 years ago, 10, 12 years ago, you would see appraisal services advertising and everywhere there were billboards. Yeah,
we had business cards,
all kinds of stuff. And then 2008 happened in the housing industry. And one of the things Congress, because, so many of those folks have done a loan, decided they were going to redo the mortgage industry. And we got, the result was more confusing paperwork than we've ever seen. And what they blamed the housing bubble on was really mortgage reps and appraisers. And I say we because I was one of those mortgage people then, that we were in cahoots to drive up the market. And what's crazy around Chattanooga area, in Cleveland area, it never got super out of control.
No, it didn't. There were a few companies that got shut down.
Yeah, but it was, as far as values though, we definitely saw a rise in value, but not the percentage you were seeing in Florida. And I mean, really, folks, if you want to be real serious about it, the housing crisis and the valuation problem was because of 4 states, right? You had California, which was people went to sleep one night with a $400,000 home and woke up the next day with a $220,000 home. I say that because I was one of them.
We did see a big rise in foreclosures, though.
Yes, and that's what happens is there was some unfair lending. If anything, it was just the lending industry. It was the banks finding ways. I mean, we used to have loans where you had. I'm
not pointing you out because you didn't do it, but there were lenders that would, if you didn't get them their value, they wouldn't use you anymore.
Yeah, and so to take that off the table, what the government did was basically make, for most lenders that are licensed lenders, which you have to be now, go through what's called an appraisal kind of a management company, correct? An appraisal service.
Third party.
A third party who didn't have a dog in the race, who it was kind of a blind draw. You didn't have a say anymore, really, in who got your appraisal. Now,
you could get them on rotation.
Yes,
that's about as much as you could do.
That was the best. That was kind of the best you could hope for. But I can tell you, the good news was in this area is there wasn't that big of a valuation issue. We had some good guys and we had some bad guys, and most people knew who those were.
Oh yeah.
And so, coming off of that,
this is probably back when you had people that were realtors, mortgagers,
yes,
and appraisers,
which folks, just so you know, is not allowed anymore. But working through that and kind of working through kind of the worst housing market we've ever seen, and kind of in recent memory, what is your take, guys and gals in the field of appraisals? What do you guys feel about having that kind of third party? Has it helped you, hindered you? How's it been working through that?
Well, as you know, when I started, it was changing over to the management companies, which helped me.
Yeah.
I got, so I was getting paid the way I was, but they wanted lower fees back then.
Yep.
But now things have changed and the fees have gone up, thankfully.
Yes. Because what happened was they didn't want to, there was such a thing on, used to you paid.
Well, there were so many appraisers at the time. There's not as many now.
Yeah. Well, and you also had, if you're throwing a third party in the mix, how is that third party going to make any money?
Right.
So appraisal fees all of a sudden went up everywhere because they had to pay, because appraisers was like, hey, this isn't fair to us.
Right.
Why are we losing money? Right.
We had companies wanting to only pay us $250 for a full appraisal, and
So let's talk a little about that. So, and what goes into an appraisal. For folks that are saying, okay, all they're doing is coming and taking a look at my house, and they know what the price per square foot is. So all they're doing is measuring my house. I'm hitting a thing on a calculator, and that's the price. A little more complicated than that.
I wish it was that simple. Back in the day, like way back when, you didn't even have, people could just call themselves appraisers.
Yeah.
They would literally go to a house, take their pictures, do the measurement, and then just give it a value.
Really?
Just off the top of their head.
No licensing, no nothing?
Nothing. This is a long time ago.
But so understand now, you have to be licensed by the state of Tennessee to be an appraiser.
You do have to be certified as better
Lots
than
of
licensed.
training.
Yeah. Lots of training.
And not just the class and the test, but How many hours does somebody that wants to get an appraiser get before they are a full-blown appraiser?
You need 205 hours of classroom, which,
okay,
5
full weeks.
If you get it done in a year,
yeah,
you've spent about $2,000 or more.
Yeah, and that would be the equivalent of going to school every day for 8 hours a day for over 5 weeks.
Yep, pretty much. Yeah. And then you have to stay under somebody to train. You have to find a trainer, which is usually the hardest thing to do.
Yeah.
And then you're with them. They've changed the rules. It used to be 2 years and 2,000 hours. Ooh. Now they've lowered it, I believe, shockingly, to like 6 months or a year, but your hours for classroom is still the same.
Yeah.
But you're not really going to know what you're doing in 6 months.
It's kind of like any other trade, like journeyman. To get that journeyman status as an electrician or a plumber, you've got to basically be under somebody, learning the ropes until you have your hours in.
Exactly.
So,
And they're going to look over all your work, make sure you do all your corrections, and basically don't make any mistakes, because the underwriters are going to come back. And for those that don't know what an underwriter is, when we do an appraisal, first person it goes to is underwriting before it goes to the
underwriter
lender.
is the person that makes the decision about your loan.
Yep, exactly. And so, and that's one thing Billy's really good at is, we don't get a whole lot of corrections.
Yeah. And that is, again, a lot of it. That's the product of a lot of experience.
Yes.
Of knowing how to do it and do it
He's
correctly.
a little picky.
Yeah.
And I don't blame him.
No, but hey, you know what that's given it? A good reputation and a solid business for almost 20 years, right? Here in Cleveland. So when you, and we'll talk more about this after we come back from break, but folks, there's several times you may be looking for an appraiser that you're not in a lending situation, because ultimately you're not going to have control over that process. But you can call Brian and Billy, those guys at Cleveland Appraisal Services and gals. You can call Sherry there at the office. What was your guys' office number there?
It is 423-473-4663.
Or you can hit them up on the web at clevelandappraisalservices.com. And I believe you can order an appraisal there through the website. Now you're saying, okay, well, if you said I had no control, why would I need an appraisal? Well, folks, there is estate planning. Maybe you're trying to figure out, all right, how much is my home worth? If I want to put it in the will, how do I divvy it up? If I've got kids, if I've got heirs, a big one is divorce. All right, it is. One of the parties is getting the house, one of the spouses are getting the house. So how much do they owe the other? And, again, appraisals are sort of the retail value. Do not look, I had a buddy of mine call me one time when I was working real estate, mad as anything, Brian, because he got his tax assessment. And he's like, you know what? You did this loan for me, and that appraiser said my house was worth $300,000, and I got it back from the county, and it said it was only worth $179. And I was like, hey man, you want the tax assessor to say it's $29,900 because that's how much taxes. Well,
I was about to say, tell him, hey, just go ahead and turn that appraisal into your tax assessor and see what your taxes turn into.
Your taxes go up by 50%.
Because they do a mill rate, which is confusing.
Yeah, so it's not the same thing as your tax assessment. So that number is very typically.
You always want it to be lower.
Yeah, the tax assessment's always going to be lower. So you don't want to use that rate. You want to get that retail rate. So you need to call an appraiser to get that. And in a market like this where prices are crazy, and maybe you're on the fence on whether it's a good time to buy or sell your house. Well, you can get a good independent third-party opinion that is going to be retail rate from Cleveland Appraisal Services. So once again, Brian, what's that number to the office there, Miss Sherry?
423-473-4663. And I'll tell you something else you don't want to run into that my aunt just ran into.
Yeah.
I'll try to make this story short. She is moving to Knoxville, closer to her son. So she sold her house. She got good money for it, a lot of, good money for it. But the people that are but it was contingent on the people that she's buying the house from selling theirs.
Yeah.
Well, theirs didn't appraise.
Yep.
Because they wanted too much money they wanted more than what the market would give it.
So you've got to be careful about knowing, and like this is why the appraisal and having one, even an independent appraisal, so you know what you're dealing with your property, know your value. So give them a call. Listen, we're going to take a short break. When we come back, we're going to talk about I'm going to have Bryan talk about what's in an appraisal, what he looks for in appraisal. And the big thing for you guys out there listening today is, what are some of the things, if you're thinking about selling your home, what are some of the things that are going to give you money back? What kind of return are you going to see on some things that you want to do to fix your house up prior to sell? So when we get back, we'll talk with Bryan Burger from Cleveland Appraisal Services. Stick around. Don't touch that dial. We'll see you here in just a few minutes on Home Solutions here on Mix 104.1 and 101.3 The Buzz. Welcome back, everybody, to Home Solutions. Happy Saturday. Dennis Purvis here in the Mix 104 Talk 101.3 studios. Bryan Burger from Cleveland Appraisal Services is with us today. Bryan and I go way back to not just college, but we've been friends for a long time. But also, we used to be on the station at Sports Talk.
We did. We got to talk sports.
And
if you didn't like Notre Dame or Ohio State, you
some of
might
our
not have tuned in too often.
Some of our segments were awesome. We just kept trying to come up with awesome segments. And
we worked hard on those. Those were fun.
We did. We had some fun times. But so kind of the band's back together today for this Saturday. And folks, as always, if you're in your home and you've got anything from maybe a handyman problem like a leaky toilet, leaky faucet, or a door not shutting right, all the way up to full remodel, give us a call at Pro 93 Home Solutions. We'd love to help you out. We're licensed, bonded, insured as a home improvement contractor here in Tennessee, and we would love to come out and help you. We also have a light commercial and residential cleaning side of the business. Our clean team, one of our clean team pros will come out and give you an estimate. Whether you're looking for a one-time clean or recurring service, right now kind of everybody's looking for that. Disinfect your house for a good price. We're here in Cleveland, locally owned, veteran-owned and operated. My partner David is a proud veteran of the U.S. Navy, so we would love to help you out. Give us a call, 458-4135, or at pro93homesolutions.com.
Good time to keep the house clean.
Yes.
That way you don't have to drink Lysol.
Come on. Or inject it. So we are back here. That was my shameless plug for the show. Here with Bryan Burger, Cleveland Appraisal Services. Been in business. They've been in business for almost 20 years here in Cleveland. Got one of the best reputations in town. I can tell you personally, as somebody who used to work in that side of the real estate field, just unbelievable reputation in the business. They do great work. You don't have to fear if you find out that they're your appraiser on your loan for your house or your refinance or your purchase, or they're the person you can call directly and get them to give you a private appraisal for maybe it's an estate planning, divorce, or you just want to know what your home's worth, whatever your needs are. You guys pretty much, if you're listening to this, unless you're watching us on Facebook Live, okay? So, hi everybody. If you're listening on the radio, it's either Mix 104 or 101.3 this morning. Maybe you're listening on the Mix 104.1 app, or you're streaming online. Chances are, Cleveland Appraisal Services can help you. 6 counties: Bradley, Hamilton, McMinn, Meigs, Polk, Ray. So that's Cleveland, Chattanooga, Athens, Soddy, Benton, Hickson. You guys go all the way to Dayton too, correct?
Yes.
Yes. So there you go. Folks, if you're hearing this, chances are Bryan and Billy and the team over there can help you out. So, Bryan, we're a home and garden show. Let's talk a little bit about, I go through this a lot. These are questions I get a lot from homeowners. They'll call me up and say, I want to come give me a quote because we're going to sell our house in the spring and we want to do a bunch of work. And what I typically tell them is, have you talked to your realtor about this? Because there are plenty of things that you're not going to see return for.
No.
Value.
True.
So let's just start from the beginning. I know square footage and the size of your land is obviously a part of it. Mm-hmm. But talk about some of the nuances on how you come up with a value. What are the things you look for? And then what do you compare that to?
Well, obviously, and people don't understand this. They think we just come up with a number out of our head. We don't. I mean, there's times when we may spend hours typing an appraisal trying to find sales because the market is what determines your value of your home.
And it's not just.
And it's not, yeah.
Your next door neighbor may not be what's called a comparable sell, correct?
Exactly. Also, you got to hope your neighbors aren't selling cheaper than what they should be selling for either, because they can either drive your value up or they can drive your value down.
Yes.
Yeah, land, obviously, if it's all wooded, cleared land is obviously going to be worth more than wooded land.
Yep.
What are things you're looking at as far as – now, a lot of people, one thing I see is people want to finish out their attached garage and make that square footage. Well, as you have seen on appraisals,
Yeah.
most of your garages, your two-car garage, are about 450, 500 square feet.
Yeah.
So you're adding that square footage to your house, but more than likely we're going to have to use a comparable that's got a two-car garage.
Yeah.
So the value you get on that extra square footage on your house, you're going to lose on the negative adjustment we have to make for that garage.
And sometimes that can just wash.
It can.
Yeah.
It can. And I know it doesn't make sense, but it's the way the market works and it's the way the process works.
So let me just run down some kind of, you tell me if it's really going to make a significant, for the money they might spend, if they've got a 30-year-old house with all original plumbing fixtures, everything in their bathrooms, and they pay to redo their bathrooms, say they spend $10,000 redoing their bathrooms with new showers and plumbing, are they going to see that? Is that something that will affect
They're not going to see all of it, yes, but yes, it will.
Gotcha.
So, for instance, because we have that quality rating now,
Yeah.
so that makes your quality better.
Gotcha.
So
A tile
so if
shower,
we see, so
a
if
tile
we,
shower obviously is going to be worth more than just a fiberglass shell.
yeah,
Gotcha.
you're not going to see the full.
Yeah, I got
You're
you.
never going to see the full value.
Yeah.
One person explained it like this, and I hate explaining it like this. I don't think it's the best, but you can hang up a $1 piece of wood on a house, and you might get 25 cents for it.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's just a way to look at it, to be honest, but it makes your quality. So if we use a house that's dated, but it's comparable to your house as far as square footage, style, we're going to make a condition adjustment.
Yeah.
Because you've upgraded your bath.
Yeah.
So
What about, let's talk about exteriors, windows and siding.
you're not. That's more. You're going to see that on your electric bill.
That's the kind of stuff you want to do once you live in the house.
Once you live in the house,
This is going to be my house for a while.
how often did you ever see, like on that energy efficient item line, how often did you ever see a window adjustment?
Yeah. Well, and here's the thing. I tell people a lot of times.
Now, something like geothermal, you might get some
Yeah.
value on that. But
I tell folks if they've got vinyl siding and they're thinking about spending, 5 figures to redo their whole house, I'm like, no, pay $300 to get it pressure washed.
yeah.
Do that just to clean it off and get the curb appeal.
I mean, every now and then, if we got an all brick house versus a vinyl siding house, we may do a little quality adjustment because I mean, brick is definitely worth more than vinyl.
Yep.
But you're not going to see no $10,000-$20,000 adjustment on that.
What about porches, decks? I know obviously they're not as much as square footage, but if somebody spends 10, 15 grand on a big deck in the backyard, how's that going to affect their value?
It's nice. See, here's what's going on right now. Buyers are really driving the market right now.
Yeah.
So a buyer, if you spend $10,000 or $15,000 on a screen deck, now it's going to vary by appraiser.
Yeah.
And the market. You're not going to see that $10,000 adjustment on a screen deck versus a deck.
And the other thing to think about is
because we have net and gross adjustments that we have to be in line with.
and if you're in kind of a planned subdivision where maybe not every house is the same, but it's all the same type of house. You got a bunch of Cape Cods, or you got a bunch of Carpenter styles, whatever that is, right?
Right.
You don't want to over improve everybody, it's the idea. You don't want to have the nicest home in the neighborhood when you want to sell it.
No, you never. Yeah, you don't. You definitely do not. I mean, they teach that
Unless it's a cash
they
deal.
teach that. They teach that in real estate school, appraisal school.
Yeah.
You do not want to be the over improved property.
Yep.
Now it will drive other houses in that subject up, that neighborhood up, but yours ain't going up any.
So listen, folks. You listen to what Brian's telling you right now, and it's things we've had when we've had realtors on this show before. Before you go spend it, and listen, I will tell you this: if you bring me to your house to do a quote, I will take any money you want to give us. We will do any work you want us to do. But I try to be honest with everybody. If you're telling me you're going to sell this house in three months, before you sign a contract with a contractor, or you spend the next 6 weekends of your life doing it yourself, check with your real estate agent, check with your realtor, check with an appraiser. Understand that you're not going to see a dollar for dollar return on that kind of money. And honestly, the market is so hot right now and inventory is so low. Chances are you might just spray your house off, trim the rose bushes, and put her on the market.
You know, throw a little vacuum in there. And
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure because you guys are in a pretty.
I mean, unless you're like one of my closest friends, he's fixing his house up, but he has no intentions of moving or selling.
Yeah.
If that's your plan,
If this is
do
your-
whatever you want to do to the house.
It doesn't have to be your forever home, but this is your next 10-year home, then those kind of things make sense because you want to enjoy that nice deck. You want, you know, if you're going to be there, get the shower you want. You know, if you're tired of you got an old cast iron tub and you're wanting to get something a little better, go ahead and take care of that. So, all right, we're getting close here to the bottom of the hour. So it's time, Bryan. It's time for a little segment we like to call Mythbusters.
All right, let's do it.
And today we talk about Mythbusters Appraisal Edition. So
We've always got to have a segment.
I have combed the interwebs. I have talked to my sources. And I've come up with a few myths here about appraisals that I think is going to really poke holes in everything you've been telling me. All this stuff you and Billy talk about appraisals. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
You're going to tell me if this myth is confirmed, which I know it to be because my sources are never wrong.
Just post a hashtag Mythbusters.
Or it's busted. And you got to tell me why.
Yeah.
First off, you know, you sat here and you told me about your condition adjustments and your all the little things you do. But look, we ain't dumb, Bryan. Appraisals are easy.
Hey, you think you can do it? You're welcome to come
Drive around with me for a day?
Yeah.
So what you're saying is that one might be busted?
I like them. If you don't like
but
doing
are they easy?
No, they're not easy. I tell you, man, there's times I've spent a whole day on one appraisal.
You just said a few minutes ago we spent hours, and it's usually because of one little thing.
Now, if it's just a little ranch house, yeah, it's not.
Yeah.
But if it's out in the country, you could spend hours on one of them.
Myth number 2 is, you know what? You guys are very powerful. You're part of that elite cabal of people because appraisers make the value in the market. You guys create it with your appraisals and your fake numbers.
Just let them meet us.
First of all, do you want Billy and Bryan driving the market price? No, but I think here's the situation is, and people may think that because you're the one putting a value on it.
We're all down to earth people.
But the other part of it is you didn't buy and sell all these houses that you're comparing it to.
No.
Buying conditions drive the market.
Exactly. The comparables, the houses that are similar to your house is what drives your value, not us. Believe me, I wish we could just go in and slap a number on that thing.
Listen, I'm super pumped. My neighbor, I was so sad to see him go because we love them and our kids are friends. But he's not moving far, so we'll be able to have some play dates if we ever can do that again. But he just sold his house for a pretty good clip right next to mine. And I was
There
just
you
like,
go.
do it. I'm like, I don't want to see you go, but I hope you get what you're asking.
You got any more Mythbusters for me before we go?
One more here is there's no difference between an appraisal and a property inspection.
Yes, there's a big difference.
Oh, okay. Tell me what the difference is.
You referring to a home inspection?
Yeah, like
a home inspector comes in, they check your crawl space, they check your foundation, they check your attic. I mean, they check your electrical.
It's more like the safety, a lot of the safety issues in your home. I used to explain this to people this way, is that the appraisers are looking at the bones of your home and what they're worth. The home inspector's looking at the bones of your home and what's it going to be like to live there.
Yeah, that's a good way of looking at it.
Do you want to live there?
Yeah, they're the ones that I would always advise getting a good home inspector before you buy a house.
Yes.
That is important.
Because if things are so bad that you're putting them on the appraisal, chances are they didn't get there. That's not the only problem in that house.
Yeah,
if
I
you're
mean,
noticing them on the appraisal,
if an appraiser notices it, trust me, the home inspector found it.
Yeah. So, all right. So listen, Bryan, thanks for coming in today, man.
Hey, I enjoyed it.
I appreciate you, man. It's always good to see you. We got to talk. Maybe we need to do a little reunion.
We do.
You know, the sports show. We'll get in here sometime. But folks, again,
Home and Garden Sports Edition.
There you go. One more time, how do they get a hold of you guys?
They can call us at 423-473-4663, and that will be you'll be touching base with Sherry. She is an amazing woman. I don't know what we would do without her.
And listen.
And you can also find us on the internet at clevelandappraisalservices.com. Services.
So listen, folks, everybody out there, until next week, we thank you guys for tuning in. We'll be here next week, ready to go, 9 a.m. here on Mix 104.1 and 101.3 The Buzz. Till then, stay safe, wear your mask, take care of one another, and stay tuned. We've got a brand new show, A to Z in Real Estate, brought to you by Coldwell Banker Kennard Realty, coming just as soon as we get back from this commercial break. Until then, this is Dennis Purvis signing off from the Mix 104.1 studios. You've been listening to Home Solutions right here on Mix 104.1 and 101.3 The Buzz.